Okay, I'm going to get started now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I'm Sally Sitou. I'm the federal member for REID, and my colleague Jerome Laxale, who is the federal member for Bennelong. We really wanted to host this online forum tonight because we know that so many families and young people are aware of these changes that are coming online tomorrow. So from tomorrow, Australia is going to be the first country in the world to prevent under 16s from having a social media account. So we know that it's going to be challenging at times, but we wanted to arm you as families with the information that you needed. And we've got with us today representatives from the Department of Communications, Nolan and Sarah. We've also got Emma Mason, an extraordinary mother who has been leading this campaign, and child psychologist Jocelyn Brewer, to give you insights into how you can have some of these discussions with your children. Um, this is, like I said, a world first, and we know that other countries around the world are watching eagerly to see what happens with the social media delay, because they themselves are seeing some of the harms that social media is doing to their young people. And we know that Denmark, Greece, Romania, France, New Zealand, and the European Commission have already signalled their intent to introduce a minimum age for social media in their jurisdictions. So this is something that we're going to be leading the world on, and it's something that parents have asked for, and we're very grateful for the work that they have done in pushing for this change. Um, our our children have grown up in this world of social media where YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat is part of their normal world now. And so we know that these conversations are going to be difficult ones for you to have. It's something that Jerome and I personally have experienced. I've had some challenging conversations with my own son about whether or not he can watch YouTube. So that's why we think it's so important that we give you the information you need to have those conversations as well. And unfortunately, for too many young people, um, we've seen the real harms that have come from what these algorithms are feeding them. There've been some great things that have come from social media, their ability to connect, to learn about their special areas of interest, and to really find their tribe. But we've also seen that for too many young people, there've been really devastating consequences. There've been relentless bullying, examples of sextortion and intimidation, uh, impacts on their self-esteem, and social media addiction, things that are leading to real self-harm, and um, things like eating disorders. So we want to take back the power for parents and for young people. And many of these devastating consequences are being directly fed by the algorithms that these social media companies are using to keep our young people online for longer so they can sell them more things. And they are creating unsafe environments where young people are being preyed upon. So from tomorrow, um, there are going to be changes that come into place, and the representatives from the department will be able to talk us through all those changes, and answer some of the questions that have already come through when you RSVP'd. So very grateful for them being here today. Um, and I'll be introducing Emma Mason very shortly. She's just having some difficulties getting online at the moment, but um, Emma Mason is a mother who spoke with incredible emotional power at the United Nations not long ago about the impact that social media had on her daughter, Tilly. And it was an incredibly moving speech that she made that really caught the world's attention. And unfortunately for Emma, she has had to tell this story about her daughter Tilly many, many times now in this campaign. And I can't imagine how difficult it has been. Unfortunately, Tilly's no longer with us because of the bullying that she experienced online. And I am going to show a video that Emma has made, and she's just joined us now. An extraordinarily powerful video that she has made, and we want to share with all the families today. So get that video up now.
Hi, my name's Emma Mason and I'm the mother of Tilly Rosewarne. What I'm speaking to you about today is the looming 10 December change of law where children under 16 won't be able to access social media anymore. And I, for one, am pretty excited about this. And I know that it's going to be really hard for parents like you and like me to manage this change in our households. I just want to help you to try and cope. And one of the ways I think we can best cope is actually talk to our children before it happens. Talk to them about saving important data, but also talk to them about what you're going to do with them when the change comes. That is, putting your phone down and engaging and being curious with your own kids. So what can we do together after this? Do we go out and walk? Do we play games? How do we recalibrate as a family? Because social media has caused real harm to children, not just children who end their lives, but children who can no longer cope. And so what we're doing is changing that narrative. And we're changing it for your children, for my children, for all Australian children, and for the world. For Tilly's sake.
For Liv.
For Sienna's sake.
For Ollie's sake.
For Hamish's sake.
For Dolly.
For Charlotte's sake.
So thank you so much to Emma and all the parents who have been involved in this campaign. It is incredibly important and something that I know all Australian children will benefit from. I'm going to invite Emma Mason to speak to you about why this is so important. But before I do that, I just wanted to make two points very clearly to everyone, and that is that with this social media delay that is coming in tomorrow, the onus is not on parents or children to get off social media. The onus will be on social media companies to make sure they've got the necessary steps in place to prevent children under 16 from using social media, from having accounts. So we want to put the onus on the social media companies to do this. So parents should be reassured that the consequences won't be on them or their children if they do access these social media accounts. And the second point I'd make is that for us as a government, this isn't a set and forget. We don't think that this social media delay is the only thing that will treat everything. We know that it is part of a whole bunch of stuff that we need to do to make sure that these environments are much safer for everyone. So we're going to be evaluating this and looking at the evidence, and the e-safety commission is charged with that. And this will be very much part of an ongoing action that we take. And with that, I'd like to invite Emma Mason to share with us why she has driven this campaign and why she thinks it's so important for families.
Well, hi everyone, and thank you, Sally, for having me today. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes.
I know it's late in the evening and you've got lots of things to do, and it's a massive day, certainly tomorrow for our country. And it's a massive day for the world, really, as it turns out. And I'm the mother of Tilly Rosewarne, and you saw some images of Tilly just then. And certainly she died almost 4 years ago now, so February 22, and she died after just a relentless experience of about 2 years of bullying online. And it began in the schoolyard, and then it translated schoolyard to, devices. And I was fighting all the time with her. I gave her the device thinking it was a good idea. I could connect her. And in the end, it just became this fight that happens. I know it happens in all of the lounge rooms in Australia. The put your phone down, go to sleep, disconnect, be real, be present with us. And so why I think this law is really important is because it gives parents back the opportunity to say, firstly, no, you can't have social media. It's against the law. And secondly, it means that children are protected from what we know are the most powerful algorithms in our current world. So algorithms are the things that sit behind social media. And I don't know if you know this, but perhaps if you're looking at caravans or you speak to your partner about gardening, suddenly on your own social media, you will see images of gardening, or whether that's pools or whatever it is that your conversation is. And that's the algorithms working to listen to information that you're giving it, or what you're looking up online, and suddenly that's the information that you'll get. So for Tilly, when she was really sad and really lonely, she started to look up material that was really sad and really lonely, including things like how to end your life, things like how to tie a noose. And this is stuff she was easily able to find on social media. And at that time, she was 13. She died when she was 15. And when the police afterwards gave me her phone back, I got to see all of the things that she had interfaced with on social media. And that's through TikTok, Snapchat, and all the various other means of getting information that our kids have on their phone. For Tilly, she was subject to a fake nude that was spread by a Snapchat from a friend who spread it, took a little image, cut off the head. Wasn't Tilly, but it doesn't really matter, because at that point she was in a country town, and this little image went on a bus, 5 kids, then about 100 kids, then about 3,000 kids. And for Tilly, it meant she didn't go out anymore. She couldn't go to dancing. She wouldn't go to art class. She wouldn't go to speech and drama. She just stopped going to school. And so Tilly's mental health went into a decline. And again, that's all she saw on her social media. So it reinforced the sadness, and it reinforced the self-harming that was going on in her head. Sadly, and hold on to your loins, she attempted suicide 11 times and was successful on the 12th. So for our family, it was a really traumatic 2 years. For me, when she died, I thought, I've got to do something to help other children in Australia, in the world. I have to do something. And so what I did is I went to Parliament, and I spoke to the state parliaments, then I went to the federal parliaments. Then I came to meet a group called Let Them Be Kids, which is a group of parents who are just really wanting to focus on how we give children their life back and give their childhood back. And so I was asked
to go to the UN and talk to other countries and say what Australia is doing. And can I say I'm so incredibly proud that Australia is doing this. We are the first country in the world, and we already know that there's about 10 to 12 countries immediately that have said we are on board. So it's coming, and there's a wave that is coming across our world. And it really began because Australia has stood up and said no. Our government has stood up, probably heard me a little too often, but ultimately stood up and said, we have to do something too. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very
Emma,
much.
thank you. That was amazing, Emma. Thank you so much for sharing with us and for the role that you've played in this incredible law that's coming in tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce Nolan and Sarah from the Department of Communications. So they are working very closely with the eSafety Commission to make sure that this is rolled out in a way that's going to be most effective. So I'll hand it over to them.
For having us along tonight, and hello to everybody. So good to see so many people turning up for such an important event. We're going to talk a bit tonight about the changes to social media access for under 16s and provide some tips and resources to support your child's safety and wellbeing through this transition. My name's Sarah Vandenbroek and I lead the Online Safety and Classification Division in the Federal Department of Communications. I'm joined today by Nolan Nguyen, who's the Director of the team overseeing the social media minimum age. Our department is responsible for policies dealing with online safety and digital platforms with the aim of supporting Australians to have safer online experiences. We work alongside the Safety Commissioner, who as Australia's online safety regulator is responsible for ensuring that platforms comply with the online safety laws. As you all know, from midnight tonight, the social media minimum age legislation will take effect. This means that under 16s will no longer have access to accounts on social media. As you've already heard, the law is about giving kids more time to build the knowledge, experience and relationships that can better equip them to navigate social media. It's a delay to having an account. The focus on accounts addresses the harmful impacts that come from being logged in, such as predatory algorithms, endless scroll and popularity meters. At the heart of it, this law is about improving children's online safety. There is clear and compelling evidence that shows the harms kids are experiencing on social media. Research by eSafety has found that 3 in 4 kids are seeing content associated with harm, including misogynistic or hateful content that encourages unhealthy eating habits. 13 is the average age when kids first see porn online. It often occurs unintentionally and usually on social media platforms. In the US, a 3-year study of 12,000 kids found a strong link between daily social media use and dissatisfaction with body weight and with depressive symptoms. The law applies to age-restricted social media platforms. Platforms whose primary purpose is to facilitate online interaction and through which users can post content and interact with others. So far, the Safety Commissioner has assessed and named 10 platforms as being in scope of the laws. They are Facebook, Instagram, Kik, Snapchat, Reddit, Threads, TikTok, Twitch, X and YouTube. It's not a static list though. The work is ongoing and eSafety is continuously assessing platforms. Just because a platform hasn't been named on the list doesn't mean that the law doesn't apply to them. All platforms that meet the definition of an age-restricted platform must comply. And it's the responsibility of platforms to find and remove or deactivate accounts that belong to under 16s. There are lots of technologies out there that help social media companies figure out how old their users are. You might have noticed that you get targeted with very specific ads or content. That's because platforms know approximately how old you are and where you live and how you engage with the platform. From December, they'll need to use these technologies to make sure that no one under 16 is able to sign up for an account. That said, realistically, we know that even with platforms' best endeavours, there will continue to be some under 16s on social media tomorrow. The process of checking ages might require several days or even weeks for it to be completed fairly and accurately. But the important part is that it's starting. We know that young people, particularly Generation Alpha, use social media very differently to adults. Many rely on it to stay up to date with the latest happenings. This has led to some concerns being expressed about the impacts of young people's freedom of political communication, which is the subject of a current legal case. The government's view is that the law is reasonable, necessary, and proportionate to protect children from harm and uphold their right to health. As I'm sure you're aware, social media has features that are designed to keep people on platforms, such as algorithmically driven content like likes, time-sensitive rewards like streaks, and notifications. On the latter, recent research shows about half of 11 to 17-year-olds on social media receive an average of 237 notifications per day. The new laws do not seek to rule out digital participation by young people. Young Australians can continue to use the internet. They still have access to messaging services like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, and they can still access and have accounts on online games like Roblox and Steam. These services have been specifically excluded from the law. We know this will be a big change for many young Australians and their families, and I'm going to hand over now to Nolan to take us through how we can support young people through the coming weeks.
Thanks, Sarah. So I know that we've got Jocelyn Brewer on with us as well, so we'll keep this pretty high level. But in terms of supporting young people, the first step, of course, and it's already been emphasised by Emma and by Sally earlier, is to initiate the conversation about the new law and why it's being implemented. And to support these conversations, the eSafety Commissioner, who's the online safety regulator, her office has released the Social Media Minimum Age Restrictions Hub online. So it's a website, and that website hosts a suite of resources that provides in-depth information about the new laws, and that information is targeted at young people, parents and carers, educators, and also a more general audience as well. Those resources include tailored FAQs, which goes to explaining what is happening and how to prepare. There's also practical guidance in there, such as conversation starters and get ready guides. And there's also youth-friendly content too, which outlines what the restrictions mean for young people, and includes things like downloadable action plans and where to go to for help. So many kids, of course, have built friendships or routines that rely really heavily on social media. So a sudden shift in this is going to feel like a really big loss to many of them, particularly those entrenched users between 12 and 15. Parents can really help this process by firstly validating those feelings, those big feelings that will be happening and being sort of felt even now, and reassuring kids that they aren't being singled out, they're not alone, this is a nationwide change, and that all people under 16 are experiencing this same thing. It can also be helpful to explain what hasn't changed or what isn't changing. So kids, as Sarah has mentioned, kids can still message each other using messaging apps. They can still play games, and there's a whole host of other platforms that are going to continue to be accessible. Now's probably also the time to, as Emma's also sort of said before, just to encourage and support offline connections and hobbies, to help develop confidence that doesn't rely on online validation. And also just simple things like helping kids getting set up with WhatsApp groups, having those chat groups being set up, and even saving mobile phone numbers on phones. It sort of sounds like common sense to us, but I think a lot of kids at the moment, around that 12 to 15 bracket, do rely on things like Snapchat for their entire sort of communications and networking. And finally, it's also important to let kids know that it's okay to seek mental health supports if they're overwhelmed by the changes. I think you'll see on that on the slide deck there are a couple of the key youth mental health organisations that are available. Services like Kids Helpline, Headspace, and Reach Out are fantastic supports amongst others, and you'll be able to find those contacts to those organisations on the eSafety website as well. So we do think that the social media minimum age is going to go a long way to enabling young people to use the internet in a safer way, but it is just one step in the government's broader online safety agenda, as Sally's already alluded to earlier. This law, in and of itself, isn't going to provide the magic pill to eliminate every harm that kids face online. And we know that the harms don't simply switch off when they turn 16 years old. And so that's why digital literacy is a really important and critical tool. Amongst the other things, digital literacy teaches kids about what information they can trust online, how it can and should be used, and the impacts of their online behaviours. All Australian schools have access to a digital literacy program that's being delivered by the Alana and Madeline Foundation, or AMF for short. And that program is being funded by the Australian government. Definitely encourage you to speak to your kids' educators or school principals about the program if you haven't heard about it yet, or if the school hasn't flagged it as yet. There are different elements of that program that are targeted at various age groups, but it goes up to about 16 years old. The government is also currently working on a digital duty of care, and that would require digital platforms to proactively keep all Australians safer online. That's a measure that we're working on at the moment. And lastly, we're also looking into laws to restrict access to notification apps and websites. So these are tools that allow users to create nude photos of individuals, mostly without their consent, and are increasingly used in schools, we're seeing, to victimize girls. eSafety Commissioner, for example, receives about one report a week about an incident in a school where a fake nude image has been created. So it is a real concern, and it's something that we're looking into at the moment, and that the government has committed to taking action on. As I said earlier, we know that kicking kids off social media won't end all online harm for children and young people. And young people should continue to seek support for any online harm that they do encounter online, including on social media, without any fear of penalties. Sally's emphasized before that this obligation or this law applies to platforms, and it's on the platforms to be taking steps to prevent under 16s to being on their accounts. And so just to emphasize and to be very clear again, children nor their parents will be criminalized or get into trouble if an under 16 has created an account on a social media platform that's part of the restrictions. The obligation is entirely on the platforms. And online harm such as cyberbullying and image-based abuse should still be reported to eSafety. And so I think there's a link there on the slide, esafety.gov.au/report. And finally, for those who are after a little bit more information beyond what we've shared today on the social media minimum age, the Office of the eSafety Commissioner is hosting a set of webinars targeted at parents and carers, but also educators, just to again walk through the finer details of the law and what it means. The next eSafety Parent and Carer webinar is going to be held on the 15th of December at 1 o'clock. So for more information on those webinars and to register, there's a link there on the slide. Feel free to follow that link or to go to the eSafety website. The social media minimum age hub. There's a button right at the top of the web page, so it should be easily accessible. So that's us for now. I think I'll hand back to either Sally or Jerome to maybe take us through some Q&A.
Before
Thanks,
you
Nolan.
do that, can I just add something to what Nolan said, which was excellent. Um, when we're looking at children, you guys know your kids better. I don't know your kids. You know your kids. So when you see changes of behaviour, that's where you really want to keep your eyes on how they are travelling in this next 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, you want to be looking and kind of saying, well, they normally keep their room clean. Suddenly they're not cleaning their room, and they haven't just become a adolescent boy. It's just the case that their behavior has radically changed. Their mood has changed very rapidly. So keep your eyes on those kind of things and reach out. That's the big message that I didn't share before, and I would like to. So because you are the ones that know how your children are traveling. And it's sometimes really hard to say, I know this is really hard, but this is the law. And we just have to go with it. So, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right, Emma. You can interrupt whenever you want. They're really wise words. And thank you, Sarah and Nolan, for your presentation. It's great to see all those resources available for parents if they need them. Just to everyone who's online, who's RSVP'd from the seat of REID in Sydney and the seat in Bennelong, where I represent, please be aware, if you've RSVP'd, we'll send you out a lot of the resources that both Sarah and Nolan just referred to. We're also going to clip this up, probably put it on either both Sally and my YouTube channels, and we can share that out around as well, and you can share it to others, particularly some of the detail that we've just gone through there and Emma's really important words. So look out for an email in coming days about that. As you RSVP'd, you did also put in some questions. And so what we've done is just grab some of those questions now, which I'm going to ask the department. So Sarah or Nolan, I'll leave it up to you to decide who takes it. The first question, and this was a common one in RSVPs, is YouTube. What is the approach to educational content on platforms like YouTube? Will kids still have access to that? How do they access that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. It's one that we hear quite a lot. It
Yeah.
is certainly of concern for people. We know YouTube is widely used in classrooms and other educational settings, and they do have a lot of fantastic educational resources available. That's the main reason why the government initially considered excluding YouTube. However, we then learnt from some of the state governments that in classrooms, it's used in a logged out state so that kids can't be identified or targeted through the platform. So all of that educational content is still available in a logged out state. So there shouldn't be any impact on kids being able to access that content on an ongoing basis.
Sarah, can you just unpack that a little bit, particularly for perhaps some parents who aren't aware of the technicalities of that term, logged out state? So can you just explain how that fits into the legislation, what parents should look out for? Just unpack what logged out means, yeah.
It just means accessing YouTube through a web browser and going to the YouTube link or URL website, and you can see all the content from there without logging in. So if you access it through the app or through a logged in state via the website, you have to put in your username and your password to get in, and that's when they start capturing all of your information, and they can attribute that to you, and they can build a profile of you. The platform can, other people can, and that's when you get the really targeted algorithms and other things that might come towards the kids. Whereas just going in through the website, you can get all the content without anybody capturing any of your data or building a profile on you. So it is a safer way to access that educational content.
Great. Okay, that's a really good point to make. You mentioned chatting apps in your presentation there. A lot of questions about this. I think some people are thinking WhatsApp might be banned or Messenger might be banned. Can you sort of go through, just sort of clarify that for us? Is Facebook Messenger banned, for example?
Facebook Messenger is an interesting one because it currently is linked, and I'll defer to Nolan on this. If you have to have Facebook to get Messenger, then no, you won't be able to access Messenger. but there's a lot of other sites also that the e-safety commissioner, because messaging is specifically carved out. Nolan, is there anything you want to add on Facebook? I think they've changed their. Sorry, our lights are going out. It must be someone's trying to.
I thought Nolan just started doing some sort of dance. I was like, wow, what's going on there?
Dance to explain this one.
So with I think just specifically on Facebook Messenger. So actually, I'll step back a little bit.
Yep.
So we did a whole bunch of consultation early in the year in the course of developing, I guess, working through the implementation process for this legislation. And what we heard really loud and clear from parents and young people and others was that messaging apps needed to be excluded from the restriction because they were a really important source for which young people to stay connected, not only with their peers, but also with their families and with their family members overseas and those sorts of things. So the Minister for Communications has excluded messaging apps. So this rule or this exemption applies to messaging I guess you could think of it as standalone messaging apps. So WhatsApp is a very clear example where it is very clearly a messaging app. With coming back to Facebook Messenger, we've worked with Meta, which is the owner of Facebook, on Facebook Messenger. Facebook Messenger on its own is excluded from the social media minimum age law, and what Facebook has done is, I guess, disaggregated or separated Facebook more clearly, Facebook from Facebook Messenger. So you can create an account on Facebook Messenger now, just by itself.
Yeah.
I think they've already started rolling that out, or maybe it's already rolled out. So you don't actually need to have a Facebook account in order to use Facebook Messenger. So hopefully what that means is that all those Facebook Messenger groups that are already set up that kids have, those will be preserved and will continue to have access to those, I guess, tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's important. Privacy, getting a few questions about privacy as well. And I guess a fear, and some people think that some of these platforms will force people to use government ID or digital ID. Could you just provide some information about that? And more broadly, I guess, about age assurance. How have some platforms decided to enforce the age limit?
Yeah, certainly. There's really high privacy bar set in the law that any data that is captured for the purpose of age assurance can only be used for age assurance. The platforms have to delete that data as soon as they have age assured someone. They can't retain it unless the user has given very explicit permission for that to happen. And there's a lot of conditions around what that permission looks like, so it can't just be implied. The platforms are required under the regulatory guidance issued by the Safety Commissioner to take a layered approach, so to offer more than one option for people to verify their age. With relation to government ID, platforms can offer that as an option, but they have to have reasonable alternative options. It cannot be the case that anybody is forced to use their government ID to verify their age. There has to be another viable option available to people.
Okay, that's really important. Lots of chat about people circumventing this. Can people just use a VPN? What if I, get a fake moustache and put it on myself and try and use that? Like, I think you sort of mentioned it, but did you want to address some of that? Like, I guess people will try and get around this, right? But it's about more than that individual example. It's really trying to shift the dial.
Yeah, look, that's right. And there's been some reporting already this week about, like that exact same scenario that you've mentioned, Jerome.
The moustache of VPN.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Now, in this particular case, that 13-year-old putting on that fake moustache, it didn't work.
Okay, right. Okay, good.
But in some cases, it might.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, it might.
Yeah. The Australian government funded a trial of age assurance technologies earlier this year, and we got a report a couple of months ago, which also took into account the circumvention sort of methods that people or children, young people might attempt to use to get around the age assurance tools. And what that trial found, or what that review found, was that a lot of the age assurance technologies are sort of building in techniques to combat that circumvention. So just to address VPNs first. So there are a host of technologies out there that already exist that are being used by platforms like Netflix, for example, to know when a VPN is being used. So it's not as simple as I know there's been some reporting around potential increases in VPN downloads, but it's not as simple as switching on a VPN and you're scot-free. Most of the time, if the platform really wants to, they can work out that you are using a VPN by looking at other location signals that's coming from your phone, for example, and they'll send you through to another sort of process or to a process to confirm your age, an age assurance check. When it comes to like, those fake moustaches or like masks and those sorts of things, there is the way that age assurance providers are sort of combating that is by using I guess AI to look at to do a liveness check to make sure that the face is a live face, that it's not a mask, that it moves naturally, those sorts of things. But those are all being addressed by the platforms, and ultimately the onus is on the platforms to ensure that they minimize circumvention by young people.
And importantly, just to reiterate, that data used during that verification process can't be held by these platforms for other uses without very explicit consent. I think that's really important to highlight. One final question. I mean, I know the answer to this, but I think we should put it out here on the record for those who've signed in. Is the government planning to extend the measures to provide control over algorithmic feeds to everyone? Like, is this just a drip? We'll start with under 16s and then we'll start controlling everyone's feed. Is that the intention of the current law?
Well, wasn't my intention. I can tell you it was not my intention. It was only about protecting children, but I'll let the government properly answer.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, certainly that is not the intent of the law. The intent of the law is solely to protect children from harms online. There has been no decision taken or announced by the government to address algorithmic feed from adults. Whether that is considered in the future will be a matter for the government, but at this stage, it's about kids.
Yeah, it's only about the kids. I can't see that changing in my lifetime. Look, we really appreciate you staying on for questions, Sarah and Nolan. Online, we will be sending the presentation, this recording, links, etc., to your email addresses later, and I will be circulating all that. We'll now probably go to Jocelyn Brewer. If we can bring her up on the screen, please. Jocelyn is a Sydney-based, where is she? There she is. Hello, Jocelyn. Jocelyn is a Sydney-based psychologist and cyber psychology expert specialising in digital wellbeing. She works closely with young people, families, schools, drawing on more than a decade's experience as a teacher and a school counsellor. Jocelyn founded Digital Nutrition, which is a framework that helps families build healthy, positive technology habits. She creates practical programs for parents, including guidance on screen use in early childhood and family tech agreements. And a really important guest to have on as parents navigate the next few days, well, hours, weeks, months, years, perhaps, depending on the age of your child. Jocelyn, please let us know how we should be talking to our kids about this, because tomorrow may be a really big day for some, right? So in your experience, how could we best approach this?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I think it's all about talk often and talk early. And even if it is, 6:48 on the night before the big blackout, it's never too late, I guess, to maybe go and have some curious conversations. Most kids by now have probably got a plan in place, even if we haven't talked to them about it. And basically just to bring curiosity to the conversation. I think I should get paid for every time, or I'd love to work out who the first person who said be curious, not furious is, because it is in our instinct as parents to just want to protect our kids from all those complex harms and, things that we sometimes really can't control, who's out there and what's out there on the big wide web. So yeah, it's like your kids are experts in their own lives and probably experts in social media. I don't think we really need to help them with anything when it comes to technology. It's often that they're playing the role of IT support manager to us. But what we do have is a fully developed brain and many more years of experience and life on the planet that we can then lean into really collaborative conversations. And I think for many of us too, like the parents I'm talking to, they're like, can you please ban my email for me as well while you're at it? We're experiencing a lot of digital overwhelm ourselves. And this is a really beautiful opportunity for us all as families to maybe take the focus on the social stuff so much and broaden it out to our screen use and think about all of the other ways that we still need to really protect our kids from harms in other online spaces until we have, this 2-year time where until we review how the legislation went and bring in, more of the digital duty of care and things that will really see even bigger shift around our tech habits.
Yeah. Talk to us about this framework that you've developed, the digital nutrition. How have you helped families navigate tech?
Yeah, so I got into this
Yeah.
work. I got into this work as a school counsellor down the road at Chester Hill. So I pretty much have grown up in the inner west. My office is around the corner from Sally's in Burwood. And I actually am out here on Bidjigal clan land in the back of Bankstown. So this is kind of my community in terms of when I first started teaching 23 years ago, 3 kids out of 30 would have dial-up internet. And now, if you have 3 kids out of 30 without a smartphone, it's probably because it's either broken or their parents took it off them or, something like that. So huge changes in that amount of time. And what I noticed was there were conversations about, really how do we restrict and think more critically about technology. And then we were talking about digital detoxes. And I was like, hold on, that doesn't sound good either. So literally I started talking about a digital diet analogy. I think Dr. Wayne Warburton at Macquarie Uni and other people, I'm not the first person to use the food analogy, but certainly in terms of thinking of it from like, how do we use this positively? How do we kind of look out for the virtual vitamins, check for the genetically modified AI kind of content, and put some really clear boundaries around how we consume technology. So that much of the work that we as parents have done is like learning how to protect our kids and give our kids healthy habits. So building upon what we know about healthy eating, it was just kind of a no-brainer to then start talking about technology in the same way.
How important is it for parents? Guilty
yeah.
here when I'm at home. I'm on this thing
Yeah.
a little bit too often. Do you think that'll become more important after tomorrow? Like, or is it just as important as ever that we kind of set the right standard?
Look, I really welcome this in terms of the spotlight it's placed on our relationship with our devices, with whether it's social media, whether it's gaming, whether it's our email as parents, whether it's the WhatsApp group chats, trying to organize the netball and, who's bringing the oranges and the bibs and all of those sorts of things, because it is long overdue and it's the start, I think, of like bigger stuff where, as Sally said, many other mechanisms that will take a little while to kick in because of the role that big tech has played in our lives. And peeling that back, this has obviously happened very quickly relative to other bits of legislation that we might have been waiting for or observing. That it's a kickstart to a really quite extraordinary, as we're talking about movement across the world, where we start to re-examine the place, our love-hate relationship with these devices that I guess as parents too, it is much more complex. And even for young people, it's not a unitary good or bad. There are some really nefarious things that happen on the internet in many different places, some of which will continue tomorrow. But it's really then being able to say to kids, well, I am actually like, I run the PNC, I, do a range of things from my phone that are not just playing Candy Crush and, I don't know, I was looking at Sheets today, new Sheets, and, suddenly I've got all those ads for Sheets and I'm really confused and overwhelmed. So it impacts us all, that algorithm.
What thread count are you looking at, Jocelyn? What's the thread
Exactly.
count?
You
No,
know,
just
do
kidding.
I
Yeah,
need
yeah,
bamboo? Is it sustainably sourced? You know,
yeah.
who thought buying sheets could be so complex? So, and again, no one has had these lessons. Like we talk about digital natives, and I reframe that often to talk about digital orphans because they're growing up without a generation of adults ahead of them who could guide them around this. Many parents still, and even tomorrow, will have really limited understanding of what's in place. I can do a parent presentation and I have somebody who is absolutely all over it and somebody who will come up to me at the end and say, what is Roblox? So we're really speaking to such broad experiences. And it is that launch pad for conversations where kids are often again, interestingly, asking for more restriction around their screen rules. They actually would like better boundaries, and they would also like their parents to have better boundaries as well. That's I guess, the difference in the generation. Kids will now kind of tell us and call us out, whereas if I did that to my dad, it would have been a very different outcome.
Look, something I've set up, and it took a while, and it's really complex, but it's something people may want to try at home, particularly if you're all on the same ecosystem, be it Android or Apple. You can set up your kids as part of a family plan. You can have them as child accounts, which then require you to approve. Like my kids can't download apps, I have to approve them. There's hours that you can set time. Like the user interface isn't easy, and you sometimes get it wrong. If you've got multiple kids, you need to set it up for each user, and it takes a long time. But if you're keen to go a little bit further and really work with your kids about how often they use it, family plans and kid accounts do exist from a device level, and that's something you can explore.
And the eSafety
Jocelyn,
Office,
sorry,
I'll
go on.
just say that the eSafety Office has one of their pages is called Taming Tech. And so you can go to that and go, okay, do I want to do that from my ISP level, from my modem, from my phone? Do I want a third-party app? And it will walk you through that. Because for many of us, it does get overwhelming and we just go, oh, that's too hard. And then proverbial hits the fan. So some of the net nannies, and again, depending on how old your kids are, the littler ones, you can put a lot more into place and really build that runway of learning the skills we want them to have. So yeah, absolutely. eSafety is like, my go-to and for all of these resources. 10 years they've been doing this work.
Yeah, and I don't want parents to feel guilty because, like, it is really hard. And my example for me, all the Apple devices they've got, well controlled, locked up. There's a Windows computer, totally free, like no controls at all because it's a different system, a different set of rules. You have to go through the whole thing again. So, like, it is hard. Jocelyn, just before we wrap up, can I grab 3 top practical tips for how to have these conversations with kids?
Oh, okay. So I guess really for tomorrow, what I would say, a really quick one is curate your friends. So imagine concentric circles closest to you, your inner circle, your besties, and going further out. So having a think about who's in your world and why are they important, so that you're doing a little bit of an audit and really rethinking, am I friends with everyone? Is that an acquaintance? Things like that. That works for us as well. I've been on Facebook for 19 years. I've, collected way too many people who can have eyes on my life. That be curious, not furious, but also choose connection over correction. I always get that one a little bit around the wrong way. So we really, rather than don't do that, you should be doing this. And again, using it maybe punitively. We really don't want kids to go into some of the darker spots of the internet, find they get into trouble, and then know they're doing the wrong thing, so not tell us. We really, really want to keep the bridge to communication open, because there will be some kids, and probably about 30% of kids are telling me, I'm just going to do something anyway. So always be curious about that. I'm not asking them how they're going to do that. I don't care whether they're using a VPN or a mask or a mustache. I care why. What is so alluring that once you want to go back? How can we create an opportunity. It's usually for connection. They want their friends, they want to hang out. How do we create that in a safer space where we've got eyes on you and your friends are really your friends, not some creep? So I think there were 3 in there.
I think so too. Jocelyn, is there anything you want to add that you haven't spoken to that you?
Oh, look, if you go to digital nutrition, if you Google that, literally I pop up. It's digitalnutrition.com.au. I've got a across the top is a banner to my logged out webinar, and like literally for $10, you can get a 15-page download, which has all my little resources and activities and conversation starters. It's quite different to some of the stuff that's out there already because it goes more into the psych side of like the need for connection and control over those spaces. So that might be something that for $10 people are interested in. Not going to become a gazillionaire from that one.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Look, thank you so much for your time tonight. I know you're juggling family responsibilities as well, and just really appreciate you taking an hour out of your evening and chatting to people across Sydney about this really important day tomorrow. I'll bring Sal back on the screen and probably Emma as well, if she's still with us. There she is. Yeah, I guess we're just wrapping it up here. And we might go to Emma just to close out because I think her opening was incredibly powerful. Just wanted to thank everyone who signed online with us tonight. Thanks, Sally and her team and my team for helping us organise this. There's a couple of things we should be really proud of as Australians. Like, obviously, we're a really big sporting nation. We invented stuff like Wi-Fi. But on health, we've done a lot. We're the first to put plain packaging on tobacco. And now on digital health, we've got this world first ban on social media and age restrictions for people under 16. And it is literally the talk of the world. The EU, Malaysia, New Zealand, and waiting just as the world watched us on some of those other things I mentioned. So we wouldn't have been able to do this without your support for those who've signed online. And we certainly wouldn't have not been able to do it without Emma's extraordinary advocacy through the hardship that she and her family have been to. And on that note, I'll pass on to Emma if you have any closing thoughts or considerations for those who are online.
I always have thoughts. What I'm going to say to all of you guys is this is going to be hard. It's going to be clunky, but you've got this because we know our aim. Our aim is to care for children and protect them. And we were all part of a whole experiment, a social experiment that we didn't know we were part of. And now it's time to take back those reins and manage our lives a little better. And I really implore you to put those phones down, listen to music you never wanted to listen to because that's what your kids wanted to listen to. Try and get that connection back. And as a family, recalibrate. And you know what? You can do this. It's going to be hard, but no change is easy. You can do it. And, you've got my support and now you've got the whole world looking at us as to how well we are going to manage it. And we have got it. We can do it.
Awesome. Sal, did you want to say anything?
Just a huge thank you to Emma and Jocelyn and Sarah and Nolan for your help today. We know that this is such an important change and really appreciate you coming on to help local families figure it out together. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. We'll send out those links. Cheers.